This is the Law of Live Audio Wrestling, and as we do each and every time, we try to put a little bit of fun into your lives. If you don't like it, it's on you. We're just having a good time over here, telling jokes. And this time we're going to talk a little bit of this past weekend. The WWE had their Clash at the Castle, Scotland. Some would say for the first time ever. Some would argue that point as well. I know one guy who would definitely argue that point, and very well because he was part of it. I'm talking about joining us now, one half of the WWE tag team, the Highlanders, talking about Rory McAllister. Rory, how you doing, brother?
What's up, Ted? I'm doing great, man. Living life, and it's bloody hot down here in Southern Ohio, but I'm enjoying it, man. Nice.
Brother, it was so, as you know, because you've lived up here before, the humidity has set in. And it just makes everything completely unbearable. The only thing you can do is sit down and drink to stay cool, right?
Well, it's one excuse, I guess. Yeah, but yeah,
man. Now, speaking of drinking, you happen to be from a place that is kind of known for their drinking, so to speak, right?
Yeah. Yeah, thanks.
And do you think we had Clash at the Castle, right? Drew McIntyre, the face of it. Yeah. Basically, like they've gone out there. Have you noticed? I don't know if you guys have noticed this, Brady, you as well, that they gave Rhea Australia. They've given Drew Scotland. Like they're really, before they'd be like, oh, we wanted to have this person so we could open up to that market.
Right.
And that person would still get kind of lost in the shuffle a little bit.
Sure.
They're actually trying to use these guys to make stars, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what do you make of so far with the Triple H era?
I mean, as far as what I think, like my opinion on it is, as far as the wrestling goes, I'm not as huge a fan of the wrestling side of it, to be honest with you. It's became cookie cutter in a kind of shit way. It's his era, my era. The era before was a lot. Everything was based on psychology. And it seems that we've given way to that now for athleticism, which is amazing. Don't get me wrong, man. I mean, I think what these guys and girls do these days is absolutely fantastic. But that's stuff that Super Crazy used to do, or people like them. That was their milieu. Whereas it seems to be all over the place now. AEW is really bad at it, but WWE is much better, but still in the kind of revenue or the avenue where I don't really have to watch the main event anymore. As far as wrestling goes, I'll stick to it for the story, but not for the wrestling, because I've seen all the moves in the first 3 matches.
There's just that's kind of weird too, right? Because I mean, that's why we all fell in love with wrestling, was because of the wrestling. You know what I mean? That part of it, not the storyline, because I mean, for myself anyways, I was growing up with like WCCW and NWA stuff, and the storyline wasn't a strong suit. There wasn't a lot of production like there is put into it now. Now really tried to build characters, but here's my question then, because we saw what happened. We saw what happened with the ropes, right? At this past week's event, we saw almost 2 severe injuries. One with Jade Cargill with her springboard, where she just slips right off, goes right down. Another one with Damian Priest, whose legs gets caught up in the rope, a la Mick Foley and the ripping of the ear thing, bro. And then the bump. Oh, it wasn't so much the leg getting caught up, you know what I mean? It was that bump where he gets caught and just smashes into the side of the ring. I know you could feel it. I could feel it. All of us could feel it when that kind of thing happens. And you even saw there's clips going around of the referee letting AJ know, like, that the ropes were like, this is the kind of tension you have in these things. Be careful, guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you think that it's stuff like that, though, that could get them to go back to doing more psychology, less silly and crazy stuff? You know what I mean? Because these guys, now they've got to shuffle and try to figure out what to do with, Damian Priest going forward. And do they rush a program to get the belt on Drew so Drew can have that program with Punk? Do they what do they do with it? Do you think that this could be a precursor to them hopefully going back to better days?
I mean, it would definitely be something they would think about. I mean, when you're talking about how much money you've got invested in these guys, I mean, it's a shit ton. I know through having like a few surgeries myself while I was at WWE, how much they pay for that too. The other thing I would be worried about would be the longevity of my talent, you know, because I mean, they spend a lot of money, they invest a lot in getting these guys over, they invest a lot in promotion, they invest a lot in merchandise and everything else. If I was thinking, if I was a businessman and I'm like, well, my merchandise is getting busted up and I can't use it, I might change my mind. So perhaps, maybe, realistically, it's going to come down to really what the athletes themselves want, um, and then what the crowd wants. Because right now, these crowds are they're single pop crowds. You know what I mean? Like, you don't keep them bubbling the whole time. Like when you watch somebody like Jerry Lawler facing Blackjack Mulligan, that the crowd was constantly a rumble until something. You know what I mean? Whereas nowadays it's pop, quiet, pop, quiet, pop,
Right.
quiet. So I mean, I sometimes call it the Cirque du Soleil. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I love seeing. I like seeing the big guys now. You know, it's why I'm a big fan of Braun Strowman. But even he's changing now.
Yeah.
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 You know?
Well, you talk about the crowds.
Yeah.
Scotland turned up, right?
Oh,
Like they completely turned up.
It's a
Like
competition now. We've
it's
got
really become a thing, like where they've because you saw it, right, Brady?
Yeah, Philly, which started with Philly with WrestleMania and all the hype coming out of there. Then it went to Lyon in France. They had a crazy amount of energy. Then it went over to when they did the Crown Jewel or whatever it was called. That kept the energy up, which is surprising because they're never usually that loud. And then yes, the Scottish fans definitely turned up and turned out, as the kids say, because those motherfuckers were loud that entire night.
see, but that's not just a wrestling thing, man. We are known worldwide for that. You know what I mean? Like, whenever Scotland has an event, you're damn sure going to put into the fact that the crowd is part of it. You're always going to be. I mean, right now they've got the UEFA Championships going on. You know, European Cup,
Yeah.
and they've got all the countries over there. And there's like 350,000 Scotsmen just roaming around Germany, drinking all their damn beer, and having. Honestly, if you can find these videos, they're hilarious. Just drunk bagpipers falling over with like 100,000 people behind them. They've got a new song called "Ginger Pubes Are Acceptable." It's wild, man. Like in Munich, so the actual city that invented beer ran out of beer after 6 hours.
What?
The Scottish fans showed up en masse, and you can actually find them in the news and everything. Drank all their beer inside 6 hours, and then moved on.
Okay.
Because
So
we
then
know
here's
we're
my
going.
next question. Why are your people like this? I'm Irish. I'm just across the bend there, but you guys are they say that the Irish can drink. Fuck that. The Scottish just can drink.
Because we know we're never going to win. You know what I mean? So the slogan for the Scottish national, so we call it the Tartan Army, is the fans. We know we're never going to win. So the slogan for the Scottish national fans is "No Scotland, no party." So
Woo. I never
they
knew that.
go there, and I'll tell you what, man, with all those hundreds of thousands of Scots, there's no arrests, there's no anything else. Like they'll party with the whole people that are in that city and everything, and then they move on, and they're beloved, you know. So when something like the Clash of the Castle, you're going to get the same kind of people, you know. So it's just a different. Scotland's just a different kind of place, you know. I mean, it's kind of what's the word we use? Dreich. It's a bleak place as far as the weather goes. So any excuse to have a party is always good to go.
Well, it's funny. I remember. I think it might have been Billy Connolly, comedian that it was definitely a Scottish comedian that I was listening to, and he talks about like the flags of the world, right? And how like I mean, Canada got stuck with a maple leaf, but it wasn't nearly as bad as y'all got stuck with a thistle. A fucking thistle, bro. It is a prickly pain in the ass plant.
Well, the other thing is their national animal is a unicorn.
Yeah, well, what?
What?
The Scottish national animal is a unicorn.
That makes sense because of the movie The Last Unicorn had some Scottish vibes to it.
Yeah, no, it's actually legitimate.
Wow.
So
What?
So okay, but wait, okay, explain please just a little bit more, elaborate for us and the listeners. What the fuck are you talking about? Because unicorns aren't real, sir.
well, if you've never drank Scottish beer, lots of things become real.
Good answer. That's a good answer.
The whiskey is very strong, man. So here's the thing, like I always say, like, it's not like it's not like a Pegasus that flies or nothing. You know what I mean? It's just it's a horse with a fucking horn, just like the narwhal. So they might have existed. Who knows? It's just a big tooth sticking out its head.
Hey, listen, you bring up the Norwal, maybe it could exist then.
Just saying, man. A Scotsman's got a way to rationalize everything that's bullshit. You've worked with me long enough, you know.
Bro, I'm learning a lot here. Keep going, guys. Let's go. What else can I fucking work people with?
Well, we get the home of the fairies was in the Isle of Skye. There's the fairy pools right there, which was a birth of magic and fairies. Dude, it's just you gotta go. I'm telling you, if you want to understand, just go. I had two friends that just went and they came back and they went, "How the fuck can you live over here and not go back home?" I'm like, "Because it's expensive."
Yes, yes, that is for sure. I mean, and clearly they've got money if they're traveling to Germany and drinking the entire country out of beer.
Did you and Derek or Robbie, if anybody's doesn't know, did you and Robbie ever go to Scotland with the WWE?
We did their so we went there in 2006, I believe. We did a whole tour of Great Britain. It was me, Robbie, Roddy Piper, and Ric Flair against the Spirit Squad. I think the first night we did was I think it was Bella Houston, maybe in Glasgow. And after that match, dude, like that was crazy. It really was. I think there's still pictures of that on .com, by the way. But after that match, I ended up like going backstage, and everybody was like thanking me and Robbie for the house. They all signed this big flag that I gave to my nephew, but I'd never heard a cheer like it. We did 80,000 at Ford Field, 85,000, and still they were half as loud as the 30,000, 20,000 was at that night there. It was amazing.
Well, that was the first time they'd seen an actual Scottish-born WWE performer come back home, right? Like everyone thinks it's true. We've talked about this before on the show, but do you think that had something to do with it?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say so. I mean, Drew still to this day. I mean, he tries to get credit for being the first, and I've said before, man, Drew has had an amazing career.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the Scots are proud of him. I'm proud of him as a Scot for what he did and what he achieved and what he continues to do. He's a nice guy. I like Drew. I had really nice interactions with him. But my goal, I didn't just show up at some WWE training, get hired, and go to fucking OVW. Ted, you know, man, like, I lived on the road. I lived in a car for a couple of years. I mean, I did everything to try and make it. I wanted to do it that way. I wanted to do it the old school way of being a journeyman. I wanted to learn from everybody across Canada and to the US, and then get signed. My whole goal was I wasn't thinking about being a champion or being anything else. I wanted to be the first Scotsman to do it because everybody told me a Scotsman couldn't do it, and that's all I'm looking for. It's just that respect. You know what I mean? And obviously my accent is still very Scottish in comparison to Drew's, who's got this weird morphed fucking thing going on. I don't know.
That's a real thing. Let me tell you about it, because I'm going to pull back the curtain a little bit here. My mother is actually married to one of y'all.
I know that, huh?
Straight from Glasgow, right? Yep. And lovely man, lovely human being, last name, Coburn, not spelt that way.
Yeah, we don't do that very often. Man.
That's right. But when I first time I ever met him was over the phone, right? I was visiting my mom, because I was already moved out of the house, and he had called, and she's like, "Oh, here, talk to Dave, my boyfriend, for a second." And after like 5 words, I was like, "Here, you got to talk to him." I couldn't understand a thing. First time I meet him, I'm like, cool, at least I can watch the mouth move or something like that, right? No, he shows up with this full mustache, beard covering everything, and I'm just like, you did this on purpose. But now from living in North America as long as he has, right. It's morphed into this like, you just kind of have this weird accent now.
We learned to soften it because when I first came over here, I couldn't even order through drive-through or nothing. Yeah, I try to say it, and literally they'd make me come up to the window and fucking point like a caveman at what I wanted, you know what I mean? And then the first time, I think it was 2003 or 4, the first time I met Edge, He just stared at me, and I'm like, what? And he went, did you just say arkin be harkin, farkin, sharkin? And that stayed for the next fucking 10 years. Arkin be harkin, farkin, sharkin. That was all I understood. I think I asked him what fucking time it was, but
That's amazing.
yeah,
Amazing.
it's got something different, man. I mean, I think, having somebody like Drew, he won't just open up Scotland, like, he'll open up Ireland too, because the Celts are close. Everybody thinks that the Scottish and Irish hate each other. We don't. We've had the same suffering throughout all the centuries, you know what I mean? So he'll open up gateways to that too. They've got Sheamus, and I think, I believe after Clash of the Castle, they did a match, like a dark match, like a house show match, and they've had really good matches. Hopefully they fix the fucking ropes then, because I feel in that some referees getting fired, brother.
Well,
Yeah, let's talk a bit about that.
yeah, I sent out a message to, some people I know. I have yet to hear back, but the message was very clear. Who's taking the heat for those ropes? You know what I mean? Because as well as I do who's in charge usually of ring crew.
Yep.
Now it's tougher because as well, not everybody goes on these trips.
Right. But
Right.
they'll still take one guy. We'll take one guy that has whole designations. I mean, he's obviously still going to ref a match. I don't know who that would be at that. I didn't see who was reffing. I wasn't paying much attention. But that squarely falls on the ref crew usually. I've seen referees getting a lot of shit for the condition of the ring. So
Did you ever have that happen when you were wrestling in WWE? Like where the ropes were just garbage for all that fucking high flying that you did?
yeah, dude, fuck. I think I was glued to the mat. I didn't personally. I mean, they were pretty good then, but there wasn't as much. I mean, the more these guys are bouncing off them and walking on them, and I mean, they're going to loosen off. There's nothing you can do to stop that, man.
Yeah.
And they don't use cables. As far as I know, when I was there, they were still
they're using ropes.
They're still using the bull rope, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Still using old hemp ropes. So they're going to loosen off, man. And that's a huge problem, because it used to be where it was just guys super crazy size and Brian Kendrick and Paul London that were doing all that stuff. But now you've got guys that are like fucking 6'5" and 280 pounds doing it.
You got guys like Braun Breaker running the ropes at 20 miles per hour. So obviously these things are going to loosen up. It's what's going to happen with ropes. Cables are different, but you wouldn't be able to do that 20 miles per hour if you were using cables, because your back would be fucking look like you went through barbed wire.
Right. And I'm just wondering if in between those matches, because usually in between the matches, you'll see the refs kind of having a pull on them, and, they'll clank the turnbuckles. I'm wondering if that was just missed, because let's say it's the one with Damien, that was bad, man.
Yeah.
That was
really bad. And I feel like if he wasn't as tall as he is, it would have been a lot worse.
I think so too, man.
You know what I mean? Because he
would have smashed his head. Yeah, he'd have smashed his head, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, somebody's going to take heat for that for sure. And I'll tell you, it'll definitely be a ref, but I think it'll probably be one of the boys, one of the higher ups in the locker room that'll bring it up and make it so. It could even be somebody like Drew. I mean, let's be honest, man. If they're making that his show, he's got a lot invested in that, man. So he doesn't want shit to happen when it's there. He doesn't want the headlines. I wouldn't want it if I was him either.
Well, and you saw him handle the situation. Like, he saw that he was, tied up there. He walks away. He lets the referee try to get him out. Referee's not able to get him out. Okay, well, now we got to do something, but I've still got to do it in the guise of what we're doing here. The crowd was obviously very smart to it at that point, because they were like, holy shit, how are they going to get him out? So, and as soon as they worked him up, yay, big pop from the crowd. Like, good job. Okay, let's continue it.
Yeah.
Adrenaline clearly is a hell of a drug.
Okay, as you know that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I've had it happen myself. Like when I broke my neck wrestling, I still ended up finishing the match.
Right.
You know what I mean? Made it all the way back down the walkway, through the curtain, collapsed on the floor once I was on the other side of the curtain.
Yeah.
Still went to the hospital, still wearing all of my gear, which was hilarious because it was an entirely French-speaking hospital.
Oh, shit.
Side note as well, didn't have my own health card. I had somebody else's.
Nice. Nice. I wish I'd played that game because when I was the first injury I had was I broke both my collarbones and wrestling, and I was like, "Fuck, I've got no health insurance." So I don't know if you remember Wild Thing Juan Ortiz. He turned fucking medic at the time, and he's like, "I got you, man." At least I was it was him. He's like, "I got you. It's dislocated." So he's fucking yanking on my goddamn arm. and this fucking fracture went from here to
Yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah.
literally, by the time it was done, I looked like fucking I looked like Brock. I could scratch the back of my knees standing up straight. It was so weird, man. But and then I ended up having to fly all the way back to Scotland to get it fixed.
I'm surprised he didn't like have run you into a post like fucking Mel Gibson and Lethal Weapon or something like that.
Oh, dude, they did everything. They're like, no, I tell you what, like, put it behind your shoulder, put it behind your back, and then they'd like push up my elbow, then they'd pull on it, and then they'd fucking push. And all they did was like, when I finally got to Scotland, the amount of fragments of bone they had to take out before they could put the screws in was terrible.
Of course, because they just grinded everything up. What if they're maybe we'll put your arm back in a fucking hammer lock and give you that Arn Anderson slam.
Luckily, at that point, I was still on the Smiz, so it kind of alleviated a little bit. I'm just taking a couple of hits, and then they're like manipulating.
Yeah, they were.
Fuck me up, man. I'm still back in the ring 5 weeks later, man.
And there you go, ladies and gentlemen, the craziness that is a Scotsman.
Yeah, the fucking stupidity, because now I'm 48 and everything fucking hurts.
Yeah. Listen, I was 6 months with my neck. I was 6.5 months with my leg, you know, and that was 2 bones sticking out the front. Like, I don't know. We do silly things.
Yeah,
dude,
man.
I shattered my wrist and cut my cast off after 4 weeks to go on a tour of Vancouver.
Nice.
Like, what the fuck, man? Like, we're stupid. I still can't turn a doorknob, and that was fucking 20 years ago.
I found out 12 years after the fact when I'd broken my penis. Apparently, that's a thing.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, man. I broke my ding-ding.
Self-inflicted or?
No, not at all, man. It was a training accident, but I didn't know what it was. I'd kind of get kicked on at training. And this was before I was wrestling. I kicked on at training, and it swole up, and it went like black. So I'm like walking in the locker room, ringing the bell, thinking it was hilarious. Harking forward, like a whole bunch of years, like a decade and a half. My ex-wife was pregnant with my daughter, and she's like, she's sleeping, and I'd noticed that my pee stream had been getting thinner. You know what I mean? And I'm like, something's fucking wrong. So I go into the bathroom, I pee, and nothing comes out. Nothing. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I go and I wake her up and I'm freaking out. And I went, is there any way you could have crazy glued my dick shut? And she's like, what are you talking about? And I'm
sweet
like,
rib.
I can't fucking believe I'm sharing this story on TV. All right, here we go. Anyways, I'm all in. So fucking, I go to the hospital, right? And you might not want to hear this story. Oh, hey, bye-bye. So I go to the hospital and I'm telling the guy, I tried to pee, nothing came out. And I'm worried it feels like somebody's crazy glued it shut. He's like, well, he tried to be cool. He's like, have you tried masturbating? Because maybe your prostate's all tight. And I went, brother, if I can't get pee out, I'm not getting that out. It's not going to happen. So he's like, well, we'll catheterize you. So this little fat male nurse comes over and he grabs my gimmick and it goes to stick the catheter in it, and it went bang and just bent. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. He's like, that must be it must be a broken one. She grabs another one, he comes over, sticks it in, bang, it fucking bends again. And he goes over to the doctor. So the doctor comes over and he's like, there appears to be something lodged in your urethra. I'm like, brother, I'm fucking telling you, I don't know what's going on. So they found out, this is what they found out after a couple of wee scans and stuff, that I had broken my penis, a penile fracture, they call it. And what had happened was over the years, scar tissue had built up. And it actually plugged my fucking pee hole, right? So
you're like Hank Hill with one of them their narrow urethras.
So here's the issue, man. Here's the issue. He's like, there's no, at this point, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. I try to do that P at 11 o'clock at night, right?
Yeah.
So I'm fucking, hold on a second. Give me a second. Hold on.
Don't show us.
No. There you go. My daughter wanted, it's a good thing I've got this on wide angle. So it comes back and he's like, okay, I spoke to your urologist. I know what I've got to do. And I'm like, what? And he lifts up this thing that I can only say looked like a metal chopstick.
Okay.
And I'm like, what the fuck are you going to do with that? He's like, Mrs. Murray, we have to break up the scar tissue.
Oh God, no.
And I'm like,
no.
I'm like, no. He's like, Mr. Murray, is this, or we have to go in another way? Like, you got to break. And I'm like, fuck it. So they don't put lidocaine on this or nothing, right? So this little fat nurse holds my gimmick like this. He puts the metal chopstick on top and doesn't even give me a warning. He went wham and smacked it right in. And I fucking, dude, I freeze.
I'd have punched him.
I couldn't. I froze, and it pulls it out, and fucking piss just starts going everywhere,
Oh,
like
geez.
fucking every. And they bail, and they leave me for 20 minutes.
Course.
Covered in all piss. So they get a catheter. This is only part one of the story, by the way.
Oh
So
God.
they get the catheter in, and sorry, I'm moving about so much. I'm squirming just thinking about this shit. So they get the catheter in, and he's like, "All right, you can go home." And I'm like, what? He's like, okay, we've made an appointment for you. It's going to be over at St. Elizabeth's in Kentucky. They'll take that out in about a week and we'll go from there. So fucking week is now born and I've got this thing still inside me. So I go over to this place and they sit me in this wee room and I'm terrified because it hurt going in what I had to deal with. I'm like, what the fuck's going to happen coming out? So this guy walks in and he wasn't Mexican, he was Spanish.
Okay.
And he's like, Senor, what can I do for you today? And I told him the story. I says, listen, man, apparently I broke my dick and he put this tube in and I've been peeing in a bag and I'm terrified and you've got to take the bag out. And he goes, Senor, this dude, I swear on my children, I'm not making this shit up. I swear to fucking God. So he goes, Senor, on your wife's birthday, what do you say? And I went, I love you. And he's like, no, senor, you say happy birthday. And I'm like, okay. He's like, say happy birthday. I said, happy birthday. He's like, no, say again, loud. I mean, happy birthday. He's like, over, louder. I'm going, happy birthday. And he grabs this thing and fucking pulls it like he's starting a lawnmower, right? And I fucking, dude, I bend over. And this guy's about 5'4" or something like that, right? So I bend over. And I'm eye to eye with this guy now. And he looks at me and he goes, Senor, you're welcome for your no pee hole. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? What the fuck? So I get my hoodie and my fucking shoes, and I'm walking out like I've just been like physically assaulted. You know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
Like, I need to go for therapy. And I'm fucking walking out, and there's a wee room to the right. And I look in the wee room because I can hear like giggle. And I look in there, and there's a fucking box of cupcakes, right, in a fucking balloon. And there's this wee doctor standing with this fucking nurse laughing their asses off. I'm like, motherfucker, it's that bitch's birthday. He's got me fucking sitting
He's
there going,
yelling
happy
at
birthday. Fucking asshole. So let me tell you though, man, I can pass Elvis through my dick hole right now. It's pretty impressive, man.
All right, the old Spaniard did a trick then, huh?
Yeah, man. That fucking Puss in Boots fucking helped my gimmick. Yeah, that's a wee bit farther away from Clash of the Castle. That's a true story. I can't believe I just fucking told that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, listen, we've all had injuries, and let's hope that I don't end up with that one. But if I do, I'm going to ask for a very short Spaniard to make sure that I'm taken care of.
Dude,
I had a
the thing
ruptured
was,
testicle once, but that was nothing like that.
Dude, he made me feel so comfortable. He's like, what can I do for you today? And I'm like, oh, this is lovely. This might be a nice experience. You know, maybe we'll exchange phone numbers or Facebooks or something. No, man. Guy fucked me up.
and then just bounced on you.
Yeah, just
Like,
bailed.
did he even wash his hands before and getting a cupcake out of the other room? Did
No,
they even
no.
offer you a fucking cupcake before leaving there?
No, but they did tell me I'd be able to frost stuff.
Yeah, you would. That is absolutely amazing.
Well, that's our Clash at the Castle review. If anybody's listening and they want actual results, check out SundayNightsMainEvent.com. There's tons of podcasts that go up. I know that the TSN flagship show with Boris and Donnie, they covered it. You can find out the real results there. But we're all here just to hear about Rory's dick. So,
I'm so sorry, man.
no, that's good. This is how we do shit around here, man.
Yeah, this is what I say. This is what I say to people. We ain't here for journalistic integrity. We're here to fucking tell jokes, have laughs, and just have a great time.
That's what life's all about, man.
Rory, I want to say thank you so much for joining us, my friend. It is always a pleasure to get to see your lovely, lovely, lovely face.
I love you guys, man.
Wow!